Well, hello, food explorers. Long time no see. It's been a few months, not a few years, but a few months since I've done a recording of an episode for our podcast, for the YouTube channel, the Substack articles, everything. So I want to get on here and say there's a good reason, and we are going to come back, but we're going to come back a little bit more intentional for the speed that I can actually get um, content out. A few months ago, unfortunately, my partner in crime, my food explorer partner, he had a second stroke. So this is really was not on our bingo card for the year, and we've had to make a lot of adjustments. So an extended hospital stay. We're now in that recovery rehab mode, and we're going to be there for a while. And in the past with Food Explorer, I was, doing an article a week and a podcast a week. And I was, trying to get as many things in the queue so that if, something came up, and also knowing that things like holiday season, because I also have the chocolate business, are really hard for me to get anything done. I was trying to get all of that organized. Unfortunately, um, I was not successful in doing that. Even before Jason's stroke, I was really struggling with trying to get everything done. And it wasn't because we were having a busy spring season with chocolate. I actually had the opportunity to teach a really cool course out at Enoch Cree Nation. And it was a leadership and management in hospitality course, and I really enjoyed the content. It was content I hadn't taught before in regards to the hospitality industry, and that definitely took a massive chunk of my time. When I finished teaching that course, I was like, okay, back into it. Food Explorer, here I come. I hadn't been gone for very long, and then stroke. And just, when you have those medical emergencies, when those things happen, you stop everything. So I had closed down all the websites. I closed everything down and basically was kind of radio silence for the first little bit, simply because, the most important thing is Jason, Jason being in the hospital. What does Jason need every day? And everything else just falls away. Coming back into the Food Explorer, I've got a few plans. The first one is not going to be doing weekly. It was really, it was too much, on top of all the other things. And I want to make sure that everything that comes out is fantastic and that you're excited. Yay, the new podcast episode's coming out. Yay, the new Substack's coming out. I want to make sure that. But on top of that, it's just like, I feel like every time I update, it's like, and then all these things happened. But exciting things that happened. The first one is I published a book. So I actually set up a publishing company, published my first book. It's called Undercurrents of Love. And it's really fun because it's actually, I was a dolphin trainer for 20 years. And so it is taking all of my experiences and funny stories and just crazy things that happened. A lot of things, that you're just like, that's not a real thing. No, that actually happened. And turning it into sort of these fictional characters. Each fictional character is a little bit of me, creating a story around it and publishing it. So the first book actually just came out as of today, 3 weeks ago, which is mind blowing that it's been out for just 3 weeks now. But we, have the chocolate market season, which is very small this year. And then, I'm looking at the Food Explorer going, I don't know how I'm going to get that done. I got Jason in the hospital. And so the only thing that I was like, I can do this thing was getting the book published. And it's funny because it took like 8 months to learn how to do all of the publishing and, get it really where I wanted it to be for just the publishing part. Now it's okay, the book is out in the world, and how do you tell people so that they buy the book? So now there's the whole marketing plan and everything like that. But I wanted to get at least this first book, because it is going to be a series, out, start getting that social proof, start getting people excited for the second book, And, while going through all of Jason's rehab and recovery, this was something that I could really focus on working on because I could work on it in small incremental steps. I could work on it late at night when everything else had kind of gone wrong for the day. This was the one thing that I was like, I can get that done. So very, very exciting. And with that, we're doing a really cool, so depending on when you're listening to the podcast episode, we're doing a book launch party. And of course, we're doing it at a restaurant because food, books, they just go together. And so that is coming up December 10th. So if you're listening to this episode after December 10th, 2025, I'm sorry that you missed the launch party. If you're listening to it before that, go get your tickets because it's going to be a really fun evening of just celebrating, not just the book, but celebrating community, gathering around. We've got some little nibbles, some drinks, and then of course, I have created a custom chocolate for the book because that's kind of my thing and something that I really enjoy doing. With that said, the chocolate business. Oh my goodness, everybody. So if you're not under a rock, you will know that the price of chocolate has gone up exponentially. So the chocolate futures, which we've talked about in previous episodes, got to the point where, $12,000 plus per ton of chocolate, going from it being that nice little $2,500 per ton. And that prices, of course, has all, snowballed and avalanched down to us, the chocolatiers. I'm not even going to say it trickled down because it didn't. Our last price increase from our wholesaler was a 65% price increase on top of all of the other price increases that they've done. So to me, it was like, that's, a BS move on your part. But what do the wholesalers care? They don't care. They have you as a customer. They lose you as a customer. They don't care. I mean, it's no skin off their back. They'll find another person that will pay the prices. So with that, so there's another pivot that needs to happen. And the biggest one for this year was no advent calendars. I did not do advent calendars. Part of it was when I was looking at my chocolate stock, it was like, okay, what can I allocate? Where's my best allocation? But also physically and emotionally making 5,000 chocolates for the advent calendars, I couldn't do it. We've got, even right now, we've got 2 physical therapy appointments a week with Jason. We've got, the multitude of other things that, doctor's visits, online appointments, tests, scanning, everything else that needs to be done. And I was like, there's just no way that I can make that many chocolates and do the advent calendars and all of that. So I, let the customers know, here's what we're going to do. So in our advent calendars, the middle section were these chocolate bars we call stuffed bars. And so I just made boxes with 4 stuffed bars in it. So that's how I kind of compromised there. The other thing that I did was we halved the amount of chocolate Christmas holiday markets that we were doing. So we would usually do a few more than what we're doing right now. And again, just that sort of, what do I have the bandwidth for? What can I physically do? And, unfortunately, we did have to cut out quite a few of the markets. And it was just a sort of a self-preservation thing, but also, traveling. Jason hasn't done any traveling since his stroke. So we are going this weekend to Banff. That is going to be a huge thing for us. Just even going out into public and doing stuff, it's a lot for him. So, it's like, how do we manage that stress level, the energy required, the noises, the lights and all that kind of stuff that, if you are functioning at full capacity, loud music, bright lights in a place, that's not going to bother you. A 3% grade slope in a big giant tent is not going to bother you. But if you have any kind of, deficits in your capacity, that's really going to trip you up. So it's going to be an experiment this weekend. The other thing that we did, as I'm starting to figure out how do I combine all of the things that I'm doing together, was I created the custom chocolate for the book. And not only did I create the custom chocolate for the book, then we actually had at our Christmas markets that we're doing this really cute custom wrapping paper with the chocolates kind of tucked in so that you kind of have that read your book, eat your chocolate experience, and enjoy it in a fun and delightful way. So, and then at the book launch party, again, I've got the custom chocolate, which is a hazelnut caramel chocolate that I've done. And so at the book launch event, there will be mini versions of all of those available. So it's just a nice way to tie the chocolate in with the books. And then moving forward, I'm looking at how do I combine the Food Explorer, the chocolate, and the books. And because my crazy brain is able to kind of parse everything together, I have come up with something. I'm still working through the details, but it is going to be a sensory experience that is going to involve the books, the Food Explorer, and sort of an incorporation of the chocolate as well, but a bit beyond that. So I'm not going to say all the details of it yet because I'm still working on like how it would work, but it's very exciting. I've never seen anybody else do this kind of an event. And yeah, so I'm also looking at, moving forward, what are the things that bring me joy? And the Food Explorer podcast definitely is something that brought me a lot of joy. And if you're thinking, but we haven't seen you in a few months, well, now you know why you haven't seen us in a few months. But also with the chocolate, shifting that, almost dependence on I've got to do markets. I've got to do, you know, I love the markets that we do. They're fantastic. But how do I then have things throughout the year where I am creating these chocolate experiences for people? So one of the things that I did this year, which was incredibly fun, and again, this was that combination of like the Food Explorer, the chocolate, and the books, was I hosted a reading retreat. And let me tell you, friends, it was a lot of fun. So we went to this amazing location called Rising Moon Studios. There were 7 of us that were there. My dad and I made all of the meals. So we did a really fun meal prep. And it was that thinking about the foods that were going to be served, because we had to have 6 meals prepared over the course of the weekend. So the breakfast, lunch, and dinner for each of the days. Creating food in an intentional way that was going to be easy to manage, easy to serve, would have a great shelf life because we made everything on Thursday and the retreat was 4 p.m. Friday to 4 p.m. Sunday. So thinking about the food that we were offering, taking into account, if we're making things like egg bites are great because you can make those in advance and they're going to be perfect until you serve them, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. And so that was really fun, was creating all the food and creating the menus around the event, but also incorporating the chocolate into the reading retreat. I actually surprised the guests with a chocolate bar class. So on the Friday night, after we finished our beautiful charcuterie dinner, um, I had everything set up so they could make a custom chocolate bar that they then could eat the entire weekend while they were reading, their physical books, listening to a book. We had some people that were listening to their books, working on puzzles. Myself and my friend Jennifer, we were working on our book journals because I had a whole book journal area set up with like everything you need to do your book journal. So that event was really a combination. Let's use that word instead. A combination of Food Explorer, chocolate, and books. And so now moving forward, I'm looking at more of those events. And we already have for September next year. We've booked the same location because that was the perfect location for an event. But we're now looking at adding another reading retreat to next year, adding in the writers' retreats to next year. And then again, it's that, bringing all of those things that I love in together and making it into, a business model that's sustainable and that brings not only me joy, but the people participating a lot of joy. So that's kind of where we're at. We do have a new Substack article that will be coming out very shortly, so look forward to that. The book, of course, book 1, it is called the Lagoon Chronicles series. The first book is called Undercurrents of Love. There is a dog in the book. Don't worry, the dog is fine. The whole book. There will never be bad things that happen to dogs in any of the books that I write. So I just throw that out there because I know for me, I will not read a book where something bad happens to the dog. I mean, you can do whatever you want to the people, but the dog better be okay. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, so welcome back to me. Hello to you. I hope that everybody has been, trucking along these last few months. I hope nobody has had any medical emergencies to deal with because it is exhausting. I 100% can attest. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Tell your sweetie, tell yourself, don't have a stroke. And yeah, so schedule going forward. Every 2 weeks, we'll have something come out. And there will be some weeks where it might be, the Substack comes out, the podcast doesn't, or the podcast comes out, the Substack doesn't. But I'm committing that we will have something every 2 weeks coming out, which is funny because I'm going to balance it. I'm going to offset it. If you're like, well, why only every 2 weeks? I'm offsetting it with the book publishing and the author work that I'm doing, because with that, I set up right from the start, knowing my limitations, that any author newsletters that were coming out were also only coming out twice a month. So it's just a way to balance it all and a way to make sure that I'm still present and interacting. You got to come into the algorithm. Oh my gosh, the algorithm, what a mess that is. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on, say that, say hello, say I missed you, tell you what the heck is going on. And other than that, let me know what amazing food explorer things you've been doing, or if you're reading a really good book right now, maybe you're reading my book. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.